Well, good evening there, everyone. It's your favorite host on the internet. That is one Mr. Daniel Lowry. That's me. And it is Cybercast After Dark time. We're going to have a good time tonight because I am thrilled to announce our guest tonight, which is one Mr. Ronnie Wong. I have spent many years in the basking in the glory. That is all. That is Ronnie Wong. If you've ever taken any training of Ronnie's, you know he's a phenomenal trainer, Cisco guy, networking guy. Knows a bit about security as well. Can't count him out when it comes to that. That's for sure. All around, just really good dude. So I'm super thrilled to have Ronnie on the show tonight. I'm thrilled to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us all. We will be definitely checking in with all of you in the chat. So I actually already see some great folks there. I see Steve Young has joined us bright and early. Chuck's Garage also. Great to have you here tonight. Who else is in there? CJ, my man. Good to see you there, CJ. Glad to have you tonight. Casually, Joseph. Is that Cashmere? Cashmere, you Brian Bauer? Oh man, you know Brian Bauer wasn't gonna miss this one. But thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Hope we're going to have a good time. If you have questions or comments for Ronnie, make sure you hit a big Q next to that or at my name so I can see that I've got both the restream chat up. I also have the YouTube chat up, so one of those things should catch my attention. Yeah, but we're gonna have a great time. We're gonna talk a little bit about networking. We're gonna talk about anything really that we want to. Ryan's gonna he's got some really interesting stuff to kind of help kick us off that we're gonna use as fodder. If you want to, I think I did put the Discord link in the description of this video on YouTube. So if you need to join that Discord, come hang out with us on the daily, you absolutely can. And we would love to have you. So, with that said, and without further ado, let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Mr. Ronnie Wong. Ronnie, sir, it's good to have you
Hey,
today, brother. How you doing, man?
I am doing well. Glad to actually be here. Thank you for inviting me. Overall, and hope to actually have a great conversation that we actually want to kind of get kicked off here too. We can even talk a little bit about what we've been up to in the past several months and see what goes on there as well. Yeah.
Hey, man, it's all on the table, kids.
Yeah.
This is after dark. There's no holds barred. If it gets too crazy, we'll take it to the judges. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
So just in case there's some lurkers out there, if you're out there lurking, that's fine. I get it. It can be difficult to jump into the chat and add your little comments. But please do. We would love to have you
Mhm.
and let us
Sure.
know. But if you might not be familiar with who Ronnie is now, that's just crazy talk. I mean, the man's bigger than Beyonce as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Literally,
Like
literally bigger.
literally bigger, right? Like it's see, Ronnie and I, we've spent way too much time in the weeds together. He knows what I meant by that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So Ronnie, tell the people out there a little bit about yourself, and yeah, let's do that.
Sure. I have been working with Daniel Lowry probably for about 15 years in the past there. But before that, I was a trainer at New Horizons and then ended up at IT Pro TV for the better half of a decade or so. And of course, that merged in with ACI Learning, where I also, of course, worked with Daniel. So during that time, that's what happened there too. Actually, our time over at New Horizons even overlaps a little bit. So this whole time, I've actually been doing a bunch of different training that's been going on. Certification training, of course, in IT world has been kind of my bread and butter. But during that time, I was also, of course, able to do a little bit of network administration with a couple of different smaller companies. And so nothing large, but small to medium business market. I was actually able to be a part of that. Most recently, I have been with Aries Security as their senior edutainer and content developer there too. Had a great time. It's a great little company that's doing cybersecurity, and they have a great platform as well. And it's just like anything else, uh, we were trying to set up a video product, and of course, with government funding, some of the things actually kind of shut down. And so, most recently, I am now back on the market looking for a job. Of course, just like a lot of people are. So, count myself blessed because I'm not in that market where I'm like I just I better find something in a week. But it'd be nice to actually have something come through. But overall, though, spend the majority of my time actually thinking about how we can actually succeed in making certification training, especially, better and easier for people. And so that's what my goal is.
Yeah, I mean, give a big shout out to Casually Joseph out there. He said, the two dudes who taught me networking way back in the day. Shout out to Ronnie for teaching me how to subnet, because that is no small feat, ladies and gentlemen. Any of us that have been through the fires that are learning how to subnet, and the support meetings we had to go to afterwards.
Right.
But Ronnie, you definitely learned and had a knack for helping people understand that type of material really well. I
Mhm.
had the pleasure and the honor of standing next to you. And actually, what's funny is, Ronnie, you mentioned that um, our New Horizons time kind of
Oh
overlaps.
yeah.
I was an instructor at New Horizons, an in classroom instructor. I know, imagine that.
Mhm.
And Ronnie started coming in for classes, and Ronnie tells, I would love for you to kind of
Yeah.
give your little backstory
Sure.
on how you got into IT, because it's fascinating. Ronnie, you're a fascinating individual. So I love getting that kind of stuff out there,
Yeah.
because it helps people understand that you don't
Sure.
have to come from an IT pedigree to make
Mhm.
it in IT or cyber. So tell the folks a little bit your backstory.
Yeah, so right before I really was able to get into IT itself, I was a diesel mechanic working off of a service truck. I should say diesel technician, right? Didn't really get to do a ton of mechanics. A lot of it was, of course, troubleshooting, using the diesel technician techniques and skills and tools that were actually out there. And it was during the time of Hurricane Katrina that the small company I worked with, it was really just me and the actual guy that owned the service truck. Uh, he kind of came to me with this offer and was like, "Hey, we are going to go out and do essentially disaster recovery work on all of these different pieces of equipment that's going to break down, during this time over Katrina." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds cool." And the promise of the money that was there sounded great, uh, and everything was going the way that I thought it was going to go. And all of a sudden, I had to kind of take an introspective look at my life. And my daughter was just 3 at the time, and we were talking about being away for like an entire year. And that's when I said, I don't know if I can actually do that at this point in her life, just to kind of disappear for a year. Um, so I kind of made this decision. I needed to get some training and some background. The good thing is I was really good at helping people with computers. But yeah, started actually kind of taking a couple of different classes at New Horizons there. And Daniel can probably tell you a little bit more if we ever get into the story. Cale O'Quinn, he was an instructor there too. And at some point, when I got hired, we kind of ended up in this competition about who was going to become a technical instructor next. And so it was between me and Kale, and we were all racing to get our certifications. And so we started doing that, and I ended up winning, which was weird. But yeah, ended up doing that. And then there came this point where the instructors kind of come in and out, and all of a sudden, it was actually me and Mike Roderick. That we were kind of the only two that were technical instructors, because there used to be like 3 or 4 that would come in and teach different things. Uh, but there came this point when we were doing a lot of Cisco classes and a lot of Microsoft classes, and the owner came to us and said, "Hey, one of y'all got to take the Cisco classes, and one of y'all have to take the Microsoft classes, and then you'll split the CompTIA classes that go on." And of course, Mike right away jumped in and said, "I'll do the Microsoft classes." And so I kind of got into the realm of Cisco really by default, and actually just kind of pushed into that is what ended up happening. So doing that, then getting into the teaching, but then we'd had some people that would just stop by just saying, "Hey, we need help with this and that." And that actually introduced me to actually being able to help troubleshoot at a couple of different smaller companies that were out there. And then kind of helping them get set up, and then work with that all the way through, even during the time of New Horizons, not only New Horizons, but at IT Pro TV, and even after IT Pro TV a little bit, I was still actually helping a couple of different companies do the network administration. So that's kind of how it actually ended up happening there.
Ronnie can't, he's gotta have his fingers out in a couple of pies.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, put all your eggs in one basket. But, yeah, it's funny. I remember when you came on and you were taking classes, and I think that did you do any of the mentored learning?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to make sure I remember this
Right?
correctly. So
Sure.
Ronnie was taking courses. I was the mentor learning instructor, and I got tagged to teach Linux Plus in Orlando.
Yeah.
So I was in Orlando for a week, and I'm down there, and I get a phone call from our operations manager and our training manager, Charlie. Charlie's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's going. Linux is doing the Linux thing. We're having a good time." He goes, "I'm thinking about hiring this guy. I think you know him." I was like, "Yeah, who is it?" He said, "Ronnie Wong." I said, "Phenomenal choice, excellent choice." Oh, you said hire? No, no, no. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah. I was gonna say, wow.
No, I was super thrilled to hear it. I was like, he's hardworking, he's dedicated, he's a smart guy. You're not going to be upset with that choice. And so he hired you on, and you
Hmm.
started teaching us classes. And then I went on to work with Don over at
Yep.
Farm Bureau, and that's when you like jumped up. I remember Kale. I'll never
Yeah.
forget Kale. I had him laughing so hard
Yeah.
that his face, I mean, he was lack of oxygen. If you checked his
Yeah.
O2 stats at that point in time, he was like 72, right? It was
Yeah.
crazy. I did the cracker challenge where you tried to
Hmm.
eat 8 saltine crackers in under a
Right.
minute.
I remember that.
And buddy, you remember I'm laughing, and it's like blowing this cracker mummy dust out of my mouth, and Kale is dying.
Yeah.
You just thought that was the funniest thing. But that was a good time. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of great times making content together
Hmm.
and helping people get certifications. So, man, I'm super glad to have you on the show. And I see Brian Bauer out there.
Yeah.
He's been one of our ride or
Long
dies
time.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
So really good to have him in the chat here with us too. So a little reunion going
It
on here
is.
today. I'm enjoying it. But
Yeah.
Ronnie, we're not here to reunion the whole time.
That's
We're here to
true.
talk about some cyber and some IT and things of that
Hmm.
nature. Now, you gave me a really interesting topic when it came to our conversations. A little something we can kick off with. And of
Sure.
course, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you wish to ask us a question, by all means, throw that in there. If you got a great comment, you want to contribute to the conversation, this is a conversation between not just me and Ronnie, but you all as well. I'm watching the
Yeah.
chat, so go ahead and start throwing them in there if you've got it. But Ronnie, you were talking about Cisco training,
Hmm.
because obviously that's been your stock and trade, your bread and butter. We're in a different world from when you started doing IT and from when I started doing IT,
Dude.
even
Yeah.
cyber. And you posed the question: is Cisco training still a relevant thing? Is this still something that's important
Mhm.
for us? Well, I'm gonna let you answer your own question, sir. Tell us, what was your mind behind that, and what do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think the answer is?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting, right? Towards the end of our time at ACI Learning, I started seeing this kind of move away from like networking, and understanding networking, and just moving towards cybersecurity. Everybody, of course, wanted to jump in and do CEH right away. Wanted to get the different ones like OSCP. Try and actually red team or blue team, whichever one it was, and
Hey, I resemble that remark.
yeah, and that's cool. I mean, who doesn't want to actually do that? I even talked about this with someone the other day. I was like, uh, everybody wants to get CH. I was like, you can't blame them, right? Even the certification name is cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a certified ethical hacker? But so it seemed to me like the realm of networking and even Cisco training and even certification, it was kind of leveling off a bit and just kind of disappearing. And I thought, well, maybe this is that point to actually move away from that and actually focus more in on the different topics of cybersecurity. So, I started actually watching that and following that. And then not too long ago, probably just a few months ago, maybe even close to a year, but I don't think it was a whole year, uh, that I started seeing a comeback of the push towards getting your solid foundation in networking back. And so I asked a question of somebody I saw a post on LinkedIn, just in a DM here, and to kind of say, hey, what's going on here? Why is this push going back this way? And said it's simple. Said everybody push for these cybersecurity, you know, uh, direction. And a lot of people got some of these certs going on, but then when they ended up like as the SOC analyst one, right, SOC one position, they didn't understand how like ports and protocols worked, you know, how they're actually pulling this stuff together. And this is not to blame them, right? The entire push of the industry seems actually been saying, hey, you've got to get into cybersecurity right away. But what they didn't say in the background is you need to have solid fundamentals. Networking is kind of the key. And so even things that we were just talking about that was mentioned, like subnetting, you don't have to actually kind of manually do subnetting in the real world, but you have to know what a subnet is, and you have to be able to identify whether a computer is in the same subnet. So I'm seeing this resurgence of it so much as far as the push, to try and get this. And I thought it was really interesting. And I was like, where did I learn the most about networking? And it was Cisco training. So I would say if you're actually, a career changer like I was, and I want to get into cybersecurity, I think you need to start somewhere that you already have foundational knowledge that will help you in that. And that's where I would say that Cisco training, or even just regular network training, but I'd say Cisco training is probably something that you should pursue, and your entire team needs to actually do some training like that. That's the way I would push it today, if they haven't.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my Cisco training. It was one of the first like highly technical things that I learned in
Hmm.
my career, and I think that was a great thing. And we all have our, hindsight being 2020,
Oh yeah.
that you can look back and see, man, it was really the things that were kind of beyond my grasp and understanding that I pursued that kind of helped me propel me down my career path, right? That
Yeah, oh yeah.
really pushed me into being able to do work at a meaningful, job, something that was interesting and exciting. And it was that Cisco stuff, it really captured my imagination for quite some time. It wasn't until I really cracked the door open on cybersecurity, like the hacking side of things.
Hmm.
And that wasn't an easy thing to do until it became a little bit easier to be
Right.
able to find that kind of information. And it was that Cisco stuff that really scratched that itch for me on a
Hmm.
highly technical thing. Learned a lot of really cool stuff. You learn a lot, like you said, about how networks actually work, what's
Hmm.
going on with packets, and anybody that tells you, like, yeah, there's the CompTIA out there. NetPlus, great certification. They've really stepped up their game over the years, but it's not Cisco training. I mean,
Yeah.
they get you down to the minutia. They really take you into what networking is and how TCP/IP works. Is a
Hmm.
really, really good stuff. Now, you kind of threw me this whole thing about 5 lessons that all IT teams can learn from studying for Cisco certification. So,
Right.
and I like this, right? Because you don't have to necessarily be studying for Cisco certification to
Correct.
get some good marching orders
Right.
that kind of align with that from that fruit. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. Overall, though, a lot of people go, "Oh, Ronnie's just pushing CCNA or Cisco training. He must have a course coming up." I don't. But the reason why I actually push for something like this is because I realize the amount of information that I learned, not from earning the CCNA, but just from prepping to actually earn the CCNA, that it was incredible when I look back over all the certifications that I actually ended up earning over time. And I thought that, at some point that, this is not just me. Everybody that does Cisco training comes away once they've actually earned a Cisco certification like the CCNA. They end up with this confidence that regardless of what topic it is, it's not that they're an expert at it, but that they're willing to sit down and actually learn a new topic because they feel like that they had the solid foundation of how networking works and they know that they can conquer what comes next. So I really believe that anybody on an IT team in a business, even if they never push for the entire team getting a CCNA or a CCNP or whatever CCIE, overall though, I think that if they haven't had a lot of formalized structure and training to it, that they can learn a lot just from studying for the CCNA, even if they've never done anything else. So that's what I like about this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So you got a few. You got basically what 5 bullet
Sure.
points here that we can
Hmm.
go over. Let's start with the first one. It
Sure.
helps you break down topics into manageable chunks. I think this is phenomenally good advice
Hmm.
because you start looking at anything that you need to learn, and it can be like, oh, it's a little overwhelming. Is it hot in here? Because it feels hot. Because
Yeah.
you just got you see the torrent of stuff that you have to learn. It can feel overwhelming, breaking topics down into manageable chunks is a phenomenally good piece of advice. Ronnie, what's a great way that we can do that?
Yeah.
And how can we apply that to something if I'm not doing Cisco, if I'm just doing X, Y, or Z?
Sure. Sure. So I believe that the quickest way that you'll ever ramp up in a skill, especially if you're also having to actually figure it out at the same time, is you study for it like a certification exam. Not saying you have to get the certification exam, but you study for it like that. And so I would begin with objectives. And the reason why I wanted to point this out, so Daniel, let's just take for a moment an example here of like a Cisco objective that may still be out there. I can't remember. I haven't looked at the CCNA, but I remember that the earliest one that I thought, oh, so, it's a fairly. I'm trying to make sure I say it. Okay, yeah, it actually was 4 words, right, on the exam objectives. Explain spanning tree protocol.
Well,
Right?
that's easy.
Yeah, that. I mean, well, you
You
look
see
at it
there's a
and you,
tree and it
yeah,
spans, uses a protocol. Done. This was
yeah.
fun.
But I mean, you look at that and go, how hard could it be? It's only 4 words long. And then you start studying for it, and all of a sudden your brain just kind of goes, are you joking me? And so I think that it's one of those that finally did stop me, and it literally stopped my Cisco training because I kept looking at like practice exams, like which of these ports is going to actually be the designated port? Which one's going to be the root port? And then I realized that I have no clue what those terms really even mean. So I had to actually stop and go, how do I break this down into something that is manageable for me to learn today? Okay. And when I did that, I found out something with Spanish tree protocol, which was weird. It's one of the hardest topics because you don't really have to do anything with it, right? But you have to be able to explain it on the exam, or at least, identify those ports on the exam. But I found out that I could break it down into 5 different topics, and it only took me 5 days to actually learn it. And I didn't spend all day doing it. I spent like maybe 2 hours. But after those, probably overall, I think it's probably about 6 hours altogether. But I had a fairly solid understanding of spanning tree after I broke it down to those manageable chunks that I needed to understand. The terminology, switches. Why the heck do we need spanning tree protocol? Once I broke that stuff down, and I think that Cisco training itself makes you do that. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that other certification exams can do that. But Cisco is the one that they pack so much into an objective. If you don't do that, you're going to be lost. Okay. And going back to a topic that we mentioned right at the beginning, right? Subnetting sounds easy, right? Yeah. Be able to subnet, IPv4 addresses. Okay. Yeah. But we know because we've taught so many lessons on it now. Like that's a deeper topic than you think. But when you can break it down in more manageable chunks, it helps. And that's why I believe that Cisco training really does force you to begin with that mindset. What can I learn today? What can I do today? Not, oh my gosh, I got to figure this whole thing out. But if you can do that, and so that's why I believe an IT team, even when they're troubleshooting, they've got to be able to do something like that. So that's why I
Yeah,
think it could help.
it's weird how you realize that the more you just kinda, like, try to push past fatigue and even myself, I get hyper focused on stuff, and that does me no good. You have to, like, go, "Okay, here's what I'm gonna do." And your manageable chunks might be different than my manageable chunks,
Right.
but you have to set a plan of going, "Today, my goal is to learn this thing about that." I wanna be able to define spanning tree with
Hmm.
ease and prestige. I wanna
Yeah.
be able to tell anybody who goes, "Hey, can you tell me what spanning tree is?" Have a working definition that I can just blurt out off the tongue, off the dome,
Yep.
right? That's what I wanna be able to do
Exactly.
today. That's the kind of things that I think Ronnie is talking about that he
Yeah.
took away from this. That's the kind of things that I end up doing, and I
Hmm.
have to tell myself, "Listen, I'm only gonna spend 1 hour on this topic today,"
Sure.
and when that timer goes off, I don't care if the shell is about to get popped. You get up out of your desk, you go take a walk, you clear your head, you step away, take a little respite, and then you come back and things are gonna be a whole lot clearer, and your mind's gonna have time to take that information and really ruminate on it, really marinate into the old gray matter, like pouring natty ice into an open dome. Oh, yeah. That's good stuff right there. That's what you want to do with this information. You got to let it
Right.
simmer. You got to let it cook. Right. So I love this one. First lesson
Yeah.
right out of the gate, manageable chunks. Let's move on to lesson 2,
Sure.
which is learn from your failures. Now, Ronnie, I'm
Yep.
not the smartest man on God's earth, but I find it offensive for you to tell me to learn from my failures. I just like to continue making them.
Yeah. It's easy under pressure, right? To realize you've got to learn from your failures. But the reason why I also pointed this one out as an example, right? Let's go back to the subnetting. Anybody that's tried to do this from the beginning, oh yeah, I'll understand it in the first go. You kind of realize something. If you can't break it down in manageable chunks, it's more difficult. But at the same time, if you don't fail, if you don't see why you failed, you're not going to actually be able to succeed as well. And the way that I put this is that it really is a mindset. A failure is not a command to stop or don't pick it up again. It's a mindset to say, all right, what am I going to learn from this failure that will help me to succeed? And I think that that is also something else that Cisco kind of slyly puts in there and doesn't realize it. And it's so cool because when I've seen this, especially even in the Cisco forums and the different places that they have community help, right? There's nobody that and Daniel and I we've talked about this before. Like post something on what is Stack Exchange, right? Or in an Arch Linux forum, and what happens when you ask a question? You feel like I am not even worthy to actually have typed the words Arch Linux into anything. Better to ask a question here, or on a Stack Exchange once again. Places like that. But in Cisco forums, I've just seen everybody go, no, okay, that's understandable, but here's the way that I would think about this and try it. So I've seen a very helpful community, and that actually made me not afraid to fail at something and actually dig deeper because I knew something I could reach out and probably find help too. And that's the same as true if you're working in in SOC as well, is that you are going to fail at something. I mean, it's just going to happen. The time is kind of the key, right? If they tell you in 15 minutes you have to have this, and you don't have that, it's a failure, right? So learn how to actually rise from that and do that. And so I think when you take Cisco training, you kind of accept the fact things are going to fail, but I can recover and we can move forward. And it changes your mindset about doing something proactively about your failures.
Yeah, I actually, especially when it comes to technology, I almost look forward to failing for the first time at something.
Hmm.
When I'm learning something new, almost invariably, it's like, I know I'm not going to get this first go round. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and get to that failing part so that I can, like Ronnie says, learn from it and go, okay, now that I know, because here's what happens to me, Ronnie. You tell me if this happens to you, and chat, you chime in
Hmm.
as well. Is I start, maybe I'm trying to learn something, right? I'm trying to pick up a new C2 or understand, whatever, buffer overflows, something difficult. And you go, okay, I get the concept of it, I think. Now can I actually put that into practicum? Can I put my hand to the plow and hoe a row?
Hmm.
And then you try and you look back and you go, well, that looks like I just crapped out the answer, and that's obviously not right. This
Hmm.
doesn't look good. This doesn't. But I learned that the more I do like this, the more that it is that experience of failing through it. And I love the idea of failing forward, right?
Hmm.
It is not that I technically failed per se. We use that word
Yeah.
because I mean, I guess technically I did fail, but it is a part of the process of not failing.
Yeah.
Is if you're not failing, then you're either some sort of like hyper genius and life is easy for you and God bless you.
Yeah.
If not, if you're not failing, you're not trying. You're just going, hey, this looks hard. I'm not going to try.
Right.
Or I'm going to try once and I'm going to fail, and that's going to be the end of it because it makes me feel bad. It does make you feel bad. But turn that for me, you got to turn that frown upside down.
Hmm.
You got to take the way that thing makes you feel and go, this is a positive thing
Yeah.
because I just got better at this. I might not be the best. I might not even be, uh, you know, I'm not able to do it yet, but I'm more able to do it now than I was the first time I tried, and I'm gonna try it again. It's repetition, man, and the more you do something, the better you're gonna get at it. You
Mhm.
know, I tell this kind of stuff to my kids,
Right.
and this is stuff that I wish that my parents taught me earlier in life is the tenacity to keep going that is really gonna help you succeed. Now, so great one. Anything else you wanna talk about when it comes to learning from failures?
Yeah, no, I think Sierra Montgomery actually said it best. The more you fail, the more opportunities there are for you to learn on something like this. So, in this learn from failure, I really believe it changes your mindset. And that's really what Cisco training did for me. And I think every IT team out there could actually use that and go, all right, here's a topic I don't understand. Am I going to do it right at the beginning? No. But let's not take that as something we should never try and do, and give up. But it is a mindset that says, how are we going to learn from this and move forward? So that's what I would
Yeah.
say.
We got a great little comment here from 400 EMP. I just got done with an after hours FortiGate HA failover, and guess what? It failed.
Oh yeah.
But I learned a lot about Azure SDN connectors and how terrible they are for my brain. But he learned a lot, right? So this is what I realized over the many years that I've been into this business is doing things and getting in there and just going, you know what? I'm gonna get dirty. I'm gonna get grimy. I'm gonna fail at this stuff. That's the best experiences that I've had because you just pick up a lot. There's tons of experience to be had when you
Mhm,
actually try to do something and fail, and then try again and fail, and try again and succeed. And
mhm.
the elation that you feel when you've conquered something difficult that you knew was like beyond you the when you started, but now it's your cell house. We'll keep it clean for the kids. It holds your belt loop down in the prison yard. Let me put it that way. Right? That's a nice feeling to know that
Mhm.
you've conquered those difficult things, and now you've got a very specialized skill set and experience that is not everyone will do because they give up on it. So very, very cool stuff. All right, let's move on to lesson number 3. Everything is practical, or at least it should be.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Roddy?
Yeah, so the you and I have talked about the idea of certification training a lot over our time, right? About whether or not it's really effective in the way that it works, because we've run into those objectives that seem like they're not really doing anything but selling a product, right? Explain XO product versus this. Why? Why do I need to do that? I need to understand, like, why I would choose one or the other. That makes sense. But why am I actually having to just answer this question so that we get a product in front of us on this one? And the thing that Cisco training really did teach me in this sense was that everything that I did at the beginning was from the CLI, right? You can't get past that practical aspect of actually having to type in the right command before anything actually happens. So I think in that sense, right? It was either I could do it right then and there. And for those that don't understand, I probably explained this at some point in Cisco training, to people, that Cisco did this neat thing about their commands and their structure and how they did the command line. The command lines were actually designed to be fairly short. So there's no command like PowerShell commands, right? Have you ever seen a PowerShell command wrap around 4 times on your CLI, in PowerShell? You kind of, no wonder I missed that typo. But like, in Cisco, it's usually like 3 or 4 words max. Sometimes it can be much longer, but a lot of times the majority of them are really short, and easy things that actually help you to actually be able to do this quicker and actually make it more practical and tactile, from the command line. And I think that that's the way that you also end up looking at it. Like I said, if you're, on an IT team, the theory is awesome, right? You being able to explain the theory to everybody, awesome. But you just being able to sit down and configure it and do it is what your company's really looking for. So that's what Cisco training, I think, really why it can actually be super effective for your entire team.
Yeah, agree to agree. As always, like you said, me and you have mused about this on various and many and sundry occasion, because that's what we did. We're always trying to sit around and figure out how can we more effectively deliver information to people in a way that they can easily assimilate it and make it practical, make it something they can actually do. This is what we used to hate about and still do. It's what I hate about bad training, right? Bad training is someone that goes, "Hey, here's your PowerPoint slide. It's a wall of text and I'm going to read it to you. So,
Mhm.
this is going to be fun." And it's like, "Dude, I can read. I don't need you to read me a book. I can read a book. Just give me the slides if that's what it's going to be." That's boring. That's not effective, right? And at the end of that, how much of it is actually practical? A lot of it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some just theoretical things
Oh
that you
yeah,
just got to
you
kind of
have to learn.
understand.
Right.
That is what it is. But when it comes to, can I actually do the job? That's what people want to know. And when you get that certification in your hand, right? The whole purpose of getting that was to prove to somebody that doesn't know you from Adam's house cat that here's my piece of paper that says I know how to do that. Now, that might be as a degree, that might be a certification, might be both, right? But that was the whole purpose of you starting that endeavor and obtaining that as a goal is to go, hey, I did the thing. I know something. I took a test. At least I can prove a bit that I know something.
Right.
And we started to see that those certifications, and a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, not all of them. There's some better than others, obviously, but they were kind of like, man, you could kind of guess your way through this, and didn't mean you actually knew anything. And we said, no, 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 no. That's not the way this is supposed to work. People need to have practical hands on capabilities so that when they get that certification, it holds a value for the next person that comes because you're good at what you do. You came out of the gate with actual skills. And it was based off of the certification that I trusted that. And then you proved it. That's how it should go. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ronnie.
No, that is absolutely the key, right? Is actually figure that out and to actually try and do everything that you can. And that's the one thing I really did appreciate about our time together at New Horizons as we made training, right? We had an opportunity just to show our PowerPoint. Okay. We could, but the very fact
It
is
was
we
allowed.
started, yeah, but we started from the very beginning to say, if we have the opportunity to show it, to make it happen, let's do it. And it's the weird amount of time Daniel and I we we went into making a lab that we showed maybe what 6 commands on, but it took us like 5 hours to actually configure everything to make that happen.
Dude,
But we
Ronnie and
thought it
I
was
used to have
impossible.
our desk right next to each other,
Yeah.
and we would get to work, and we both got nobody beat Ronnie into work, by the way,
Yeah.
just FYI. Ronnie showed up at about 2 AM, and then he left at about 1 AM, so
Yeah.
he was just enough time to drive home and come back. And then he'd be at his desk. So I was usually one of the first people in work as well, and
Mhm.
I would sit down, and we would just be working on labs
Yeah.
for demonstration purposes, and we would do that up until filming time, which was at 9:30. So we spent hours already of our day building something just so that we can go, "That's a great question, Ronnie. Let me show you." Right? And then you can get into the thing and go,
Yeah.
Here's a terminal command of 4 or 5 words.
Yeah.
Ronnie, how long did it take you to build that?" "Oh, it was 6 days." But
Yeah.
worth it. Worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the big example that I remember, Daniel, is when we did the Office 365 training,
Oh,
and it's like there was so much infrastructure that had to be set up to even
yeah.
do anything. And then we set it all up, and it was just that I could show you how to walk through this particular process in the portal. That was pretty
Yeah.
much it.
It was like, man, I just did a lot of work for very like,
Yeah.
but you know what though? I think that's what made us successful. And that's what
Yeah.
made the people that watched our training successful is because
Yeah.
we cared enough to put in the hard work so that when you took a class from one of us, you took a training course, you watched a video, it wasn't just here's our PowerPoint slide. And as Jay Gold said, it doesn't even have pictures.
Yeah.
It's just a wall of text. Oh my goodness. If I ever have to see that, which it's never going to stop, because
No.
there's
Yeah.
always a race to the bottom of quality, right? And I'm fine with being at the top of that pyramid and going, you know what? My quality is always going to be as high as I can make it. Yeah,
Sure.
unfortunately, the life is what it is, and cheap, fast, and good. Which two do you want out of those three? There was a time when given an I guess it wasn't cheap, right? I guess that's what it was. We did fast
Right.
and good, right? But
Yes.
it wasn't cheap because
No.
we had everything we needed to make that content as quickly as possible. If I ever get in that position again, Ronnie, you'll be the first one I call, and we'll
Yeah.
make that content. It'll be a lot of fun.
Sure. Sounds great.
But yeah, right. But yeah, that's what it all boiled down to. So I love this whole like everything should is practical or should be. Exams have gotten much more practical lately. Cisco's
Right.
kind of always been one of the spearheads on
Yep.
that. You will have a lab environment, and
Yeah.
it will kick your butt,
Yeah.
like, a lots.
Yeah.
There's a room for crying afterwards. We have a support group you can attend,
Hmm.
like, when you failed the CCNA for your first time.
Yeah. The to me, the one thing that I thought was the most realistic about them is the timing, right? You for those that don't know, you really have a minute to answer each question. I mean, that's
Yeah.
max. Yeah. If you spend 5 minutes on this one question because you're like, "Oh, I'm going to eliminate these two, and that leaves me with these two, and then you're going to sit there and mull over it, you more than likely you're just going to run out of time. I mean, that's just the reality. And if you're working that SOC center and there is an attack or you see indications of compromise, and your boss comes in and says, "I need a report in 15 minutes. Show me this." You know, you kind of that time pressure, I think, is why you have to actually go completely practical as much as you can.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue into your fourth lesson, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I've always loved this saying. It has so much wisdom packed into such a like little EMC E equals MC squared kind of algorithm there. Explain what you mean by slow is
Yeah.
smooth and smooth is fast, and how does that apply to us as we learn technology and cybersecurity?
Yeah. Everybody is in that race to try and learn everything at one time. Uh, they want to do it, and so they start skimming the material. They start to actually try and figure out the end result before understanding how this thing actually ends up working. So they end up working faster, and even though they can get a practical result, if you ask them like, "What's the breakdown of this?" They're like, "No, I don't know. I figured out the shortcut to do this." Perfectly fine, it works. But if you actually need to be able to explain this, you need to actually understand that the way that you get faster is not by working faster or reading faster. It is understanding how to actually get smooth. And the weird thing is, slow is how you become smoother in your technique of anything. And then once you become smooth, then it becomes faster. And Daniel, I brought this back as kind of an old kind of reminiscing part, right? If we do the weird finger thing that Wayne's World did, right? And we reflect back. I think
Dude, that's
I
so
how
funny.
many times I asked you about this during our initial time we ever did Cisco training together, and I said, "Here's a mantra I want you to repeat," and I made Daniel say it probably like 25 times because we did this with subnetting. Everybody wants to rush through getting subnetting. And even though you can do it, okay, if you slow down and you learn the process and the technique, in the end, you will become faster because you already know, like, this is how that works. Okay, I see why this is, why slash 32, or slash 30, I should say, actually gives me four of these numbers. I mean, that's what it comes down to is once you get that breakdown. But if you just work on those quick little techniques so that you can get faster at doing it, you will miss the most important part, which is understanding. So that's why I wanted to bring that out too. And I think that that's an important part of what Cisco training did for me. If I want to speed up at it, I got to slow down and understand the concept in the way I need to, and then I'll become faster at it when it becomes practical for me to do so.
Dude, I've been so guilty of this my own self, and I love that Justin Gold he says, "I
Yep.
fear not the
Great.
man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times, but I fear the one who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Or is it 100,000? I don't know. Yeah, he's got 100.
Yeah. 10
No,
to
it is 10. Yeah.
10.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not good with numbers, so
Yeah.
there's that. But he's absolutely right, and I am like I said, I've been so guilty of this where
Mhm.
it's like, let me just consume because a lot of our job has been to rapidly consume information, assimilate it, and turn it into training. So it's really easy to kind of get down the road of I just got to learn this well enough so that I can teach it. But that's a trap. And it's a trap for you out there, even though you might not be
Oh yeah.
teaching it to somebody. It's a trap for you to be like, I just got to learn this well enough that I can implement it. Yeah, you might be able to implement it, but you're probably not going to implement it very well because you don't really understand it because you rushed your way through it. And I know you can see that finish line. It's right over there. All you have to do is kind of like run this shortcut path and you can run past it. But there was like all these checkpoints you were supposed to hit on your way there and you didn't hit them. So your win isn't a win. And now you got to go back. It's like rounding the bases and never touching the bases,
Right.
right? Except for home plate. They're going to go, that doesn't count. You have to touch all the bases. And you're
Yeah.
like, crap, now I got to go back and touch all the bases. And now it's taking you twice as long, 3 times as long as it would if you'd have just done what Ronnie said and take your time and go, I'm going to break this down into manageable chunks. I'm going to learn from my failures and I'm going to learn this the right way the first time and just be done with it. And that's going to be smooth and that's going to make me fast because it took half the time than it would have if I had to go back and relearn it again. And now I've got context missing from X, Y, and Z pieces of this puzzle. And now I got to try to put it all back together because you jumbled it up. You're doing yourself a disservice. Just sit down, go, you know what? Here's the info. I'm going to start with this chunk. I'm going to eat what's on my plate. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to learn a little bit more. I'm going to put all these pieces of puzzle together the right way. And at the end of when I'm done, when I go through that finish line, I'm actually going to be finished.
Yeah, and Daniel understands this better than I do in this sense, right? I think I pulled this phrase from like it was either SEAL team training or something, where they were talking about drawing the weapon, and the way that you get faster at doing that is to understand each part of the process and then start off slow. And then once that becomes smooth, then you actually end up in the stance that you need to be able to fire a weapon. So I kind of stole from that to bring it, into our setting here a little bit more. But I think that this rings true no matter what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's see here. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Just repeat it to yourself every
Yep.
morning, every time you start to learn something, like a mantra, like a mantra. I love
Right.
it. All right, let's go to your fifth lesson, and then we'll just like go through that, and then whatever
Sure.
time we have left, we'll just talk about the Bears or something.
Sure.
Uh, you say lesson number 5: certification is an achievement, not a goal. And I made that conflagration here just a moment ago. So, explain to me what you mean when you say certification is achievement, not a goal.
Yeah. Everybody, and you just see it everywhere, right? Everybody wants you to obtain a certification. Heck, the companies, the vendors want you to obtain the certification, and everybody sees it as a 100% goal that you should set. I remember that I had this aspect or this mindset even after I owned the CCNA. Is once I earned that, I really did feel very confident in terms of actually being able to learn anything, but also confident in being able to configure, Cisco routers and switches. I didn't have all the knowledge, but I felt super confident I could do that. But the problem after I actually also earned the CCNA was I felt like I had actually hit the goal that I needed to, and that I really didn't need to actually try any harder. And once you do that, right, once you set into that mentality, well, I hit my goal, no big deal. I can now pursue another goal. Well, it stops that process of you understanding that the certification should be something that you actually end up achieving because you've already learned this much material. And it's not something we should just focus in on because I want to achieve the CCNA or, make that a goal. I want to actually be able to show what I've learned. And when I hit the CCNA, that becomes an achievement that I can now say, I know how to actually do all this stuff as well. So, and I think that, especially if you look at the Cisco track, I use that because it's the easiest. It's the one I've done the most, right? If you go from CCNA to CCNP, those should be achievements. Maybe the goal should be CCIE, right? That once you hit that, that is the actual and ultimate and the only one certification I would say is a goal. And that might be the true for the highest level of certifications that are out there. But overall, though, I think that what the mindset should be is I study these concepts and these objectives, and if I do so, I should be able to achieve the CCNA or whatever it might be, A plus, network plus, security plus. It shouldn't be, I'm doing all this so I earn that certification. I think you do that, you stop the mindset of constantly and continually saying, I need to improve and I need to learn. And I
Yeah.
think that's the same thing with IT teams. Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck's Garage is saying you tend to stop when you hit your goals.
Yep.
And with achievements, that's the kind of fuel that just kind of keeps you going. So I love that, right? Make the distinction of there are some apex predators out there when it comes to certifications, and they can be goals. But at the end of the day, what's the whole purpose of you out there getting them is so that you can achieve something and you can prove that you have a knowledge base and that is a agreed upon standard within the industry to go, okay, if you've got that, then you know something about something. You can do a thing or two in this niche because I'm
Mhm.
going to trust that certification to be correct. And that's why it's a really good achievement. And then you don't stop. You continue to learn more, you continue to move on. It's just another badge on your shelf going, cool. That's something I've achieved. Now I need to achieve the next thing. Ultimately, the goal being achieve all the things, become a what's the word I'm looking for here, Ronnie?
The guru, the
The
master, whatever you want to
yeah,
be. Yeah.
the guru. I love that. The
Yeah.
guru, the master, right? You become
Mhm.
Bruce Leroy. I am
Yeah.
the
Bruce
master.
Leroy.
For those of you that get that
Showing up.
reference, it is time for you to schedule your colonoscopy. Uh,
Yes. Yes, it is.
right? Yes, it is. But right, you want to spend enough time. What's the whole 10,000 hour rule? You want to spend those 10,000 hours, and that's just kind of a nice way to tick the clock and go, okay, I got step one. I hit those basics. I hit those fundamentals. I got that down. Step two, I'm going to go for this certification. That's going to be my achievement there. My goal is to become someone
Better.
who understands this specific technology or this group of
Mhm.
technologies at a high level so that
Right.
I can be top 10% of the top 10% out there. Now, maybe you
Yeah.
don't get that goal, but I think that the pursuit of it is still a worthy endeavor. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that that's probably the overall notion that I want to get, you know, anybody understand. So right now, as I've just kind of, been laid off, I started to actually kind of dive deeper into AI learning. I've always been good enough to write a prompt and actually try and figure out how I can write it to get what I want to do. But I went back, and so it was this morning. I started with the AI practical, from AWS, just looking through their fundamentals, right? And
Yep.
am I going to achieve that certification? I may go for it, but I just wanted to keep my mind because it was something I was always skirting around. I could be confident enough, what do they call it? I could be a confident fake enough to, oh yeah, I could do this in AI. Of course, I've worked with AI, and I have. But as far as understanding it, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it, and I get through the entirety of training. Right, it may actually say, hey, you now should be able to take the exam and pass, but do I need to take it? Not necessarily. If I feel like I've actually achieved what I needed to, which was actually have a more fundamental understanding of how the AI parts work together and how that actually kind of does what I need to do. So that's actually more important to me now than even achieving the certifications.
Yeah. Look at Ronnie, lifelong learner, right?
Yeah.
It never ends, does it, good sir?
No, and it shouldn't. There's always going to be something, and that's the one thing I do love about our industry. There's always something to learn if you give yourself that. And my mantra that I've always told Wes Bryan, and I try and do this, is learn something new every day, even if it's just reading an article that you go,
Yep.
that looks interesting, or I don't know anything about that. Let me read that. Keeps your mind going to actually go, there's more for me to learn than just what I'm studying right now. Uh, you know, but yeah, if you can keep that mindset going, that's how you're going to actually achieve, more goals than you actually think. And I believe that.
Ronnie, I'm gonna dub you the world's most interesting tech, right? It's like the Dos Equis commercial. He doesn't
Yeah.
always do networking, but when he
Yeah.
does, he uses Cisco.
Yeah. Or a couple of beers. with horses on
Yeah.
it.
Ronnie likes to get hammered drunk before he does any CLI work. That's
Yeah.
how because otherwise he got a shaky hand and he's like, daddy's got
Yeah.
to get right real quick. Oh, here we
Yeah.
go.
It
Oh,
was
now
that.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I remember that commercial for uh, Ron Burgundy, the second one. I'm going to talk to you with my liquor breath or something like that. you know, close enough that you can smell my liquor breath or something.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, that's a
Oh
funny
man.
line.
That was good. That was good, Ronnie. I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for that one. You pulled the Ron Burgundy on me. I appreciate it though. Well played. Well played. I got you. Well, we got about 5 minutes left in the show,
Sure.
man. I've had a great time with you so far. It looks like the chat has enjoyed it as well, and I'm super glad
Good.
about that. Like Port Zero here says, "Thanks again, Daniel Lauer, Ronnie Wong. Great conversation. I'm so glad. That's why we
Yeah.
do this is because we want to have these conversations with you guys out there that give you our perspectives, hear from your perspectives. So I'm so thankful for all of you that have joined us tonight." Ronnie, what do you got coming up in the future, brother?
So I'm talking about a couple of different things, right? Still doing interviews right now and trying to actually figure out what next professionally for me is, but even thinking about some different passion projects that I may be able to also get started at the same time. I don't know where that's going to actually turn out, but that is my goal. And I set for myself, like I said, once I got laid off, I was like, if I just sit around and do nothing, I'm really going to do nothing. So every day I'm sitting down at the computer for at least an hour, if not 2 hours, to learn something new, like the AI thing that I was talking about. So just trying to keep active in that sense, and and then trying to keep some skills going the way that I need to, so that whatever the future brings to me, creating courses or trying to do something else. I'm that's pretty much just about it. Still trying to move in, too, because I've recently moved. So it's a shame, but it's true. It just never seems to end. There's always something to do. But
Man, you got a much better game plan than me, where I just sit around watching like Roseanne episodes and eating Doritos, just
and
drowning
you're
my sorrows,
yeah,
double fisted monsters.
yeah, yeah. What was that one from Ron White? He's like, he looked on the TV and he was explaining like, "Are you sitting there in your, in the bean bag, in your underwear, eating Cheetos, doing this?" And like, he's there like, "Yeah, yeah," and then finally, like, "Ooh, I'm glad that wasn't me." That last one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
I'm glad
almost in trouble. Oh man, that's so good. That's funny. That is funny. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much again, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us tonight. It was a lot of fun to be able to reminisce and do some of the stuff that we used to do on a daily
Oh yeah,
basis. I absolutely miss hanging out with you every day.
yeah. Me too.
So yeah,
Yeah. The
really
only thing
fun,
we
really
didn't talk
cool.
about was traffic, so we're good.
We used to talk about traffic a lot. Ronnie and I do not like traffic.
No, no.
We're not fans of traffic. Man,
Oh,
the inventions that we've built for cars to remove traffic from our purview,
yeah.
they'd
I
never
still
hit the market, and I'd probably
no,
go to prison if
no.
I ever built one, but
Yeah, I still think tank is the way to go. So
tanks work, man. I saw that video of that guy in California that stole one. Nothing stopped him.
yeah,
Bridges, cars,
yeah. Buildings.
just rocking and rolling. Yeah, yeah. Overpass don't mean nothing to a tank.
Yeah, spike strips done.
Yeah, yeah. Mine is an evil app, says the tank. All right, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ronnie, again. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We will be back next Wednesday. Yes, I will be back next Wednesday. Kathy Chambers will be joining us for
Awesome.
the hangout. She's going to be here. It's going to be
Yeah.
another little IT pro. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this for all of you out there that hung out with us this long. The very first episode of After Dark in 2026 will star the one, the only, the Don Pizzette.
Nice.
It is penned in ink He will be there. It will be great. It will be glorious. I look
Oh,
forward to
yeah.
hanging out with Don, and I hope all y'all enjoyed that as well. So look for that to hit, and make sure you hit your reminders and do all that you got to do to come hang out with us that night. Ronnie, until next time, everyone, keep hacking.